Hey y'all, and welcome to a Crazy Sock Lady tutorial. My name is Kay, and in this tutorial I am going to be showing you how to do different colors of yarn for your heels, toes, and cuffs on your sock. So this is a tutorial that has been highly requested, especially during Summer Sock Camp 2020. I thought it would be a lot of fun to just hop in and do that tutorial, and I've also had some questions on whether you can get heels, toes, and cuffs out of one 20-gram mini. So I thought I would try that with this one and we'll see how it goes. The yarn that I'm going to be using for this is by Legacy Fiber Arts. This is in their Kirk colorway. On their Steel Toes base is a 100-gram skein of yarn and then a 20-gram mini. Fingering weight, 75-25 superwash merino nylon blend. To start off with, I have went ahead and knit my cuff. This is on a US 1 2.25 millimeter ChowGoo 32-inch circular needle. And I cast on 64 stitches and knit a knit to purl to ribbing for the cuff for 10 rounds. I will put a link down below. I'm knitting this magic loop, so I will put a link down below for vanilla socks on Magic Loop here on my YouTube channel if you are new to Magic Loop and you want a tutorial on how to knit socks that way. This first part is going to be pretty simple. I'm just going to show you how we go from the color that we've used for our cuff. So I cast on with the color I wanted for the cuff, did the 10 rounds of knit to purl to ribbing, and now I'm ready to start my leg, because normally I would do a 20 round cuff, but since I'm trying to get heels, toes, and cuffs on 2 socks out of a 20-gram mini, I only did 10 rounds for the cuff, which will be just fine. I typically do a 20-round cuff because I just love knitting, not really because I need a longer cuff. So we're gonna go with the 10 rounds for the cuff, and now I'm ready to start in with my main collar. So I still have this attached for now. I'm just gonna leave it that way. And I'm going to have my tail coming down here and my working yarn here and just create a little loop here. I'm going to go into the first stitch. Let me zoom in. I'm going to go into this first stitch on my needle and place this loop on the needle. That's my first stitch with the new color. When I go into the second stitch, I'm just going to make sure I have the working yarn and not the tail. The tail is hanging down there. And I'm going to knit that second stitch. Then I'm just going to continue knitting around because we are no longer doing the ribbing. I'm just going to knit all the way around. And that's how you join in that color. I will go ahead and I'm going to complete this round, and I'm going to show you when we get back to the start here. So we are back to the beginning of our round. I've knit all the way around with the color for the leg. Now what I do, I leave that color for the mini connected the whole time I go around. You could certainly cut it if you wish, but now I'm going to cut that yarn. I have a little pair of scissors here, and just make sure you leave a tail so that you can weave that in on the inside. And then I go ahead and stick that tail down inside of my sock, pull it down through so that it's already on the inside and it's ready to go. And then also, before I knit the second round, I will take the tail from the new collar and put it down inside of the cuff, pull it down so that it's ready to go, and then everything is on the inside for your ends to be woven in. So I'm gonna go ahead and knit my leg. I typically like a longer leg, so I'm going to do about 59 rounds, and then I will start my heel flap on the 60th round. And instructions for how to do that magic loop are over in the magic loop, Vanilla Socks on Magic Loop tutorial, which will be linked below. For this one, I won't be going into details on how to do the heel flap and gusset, but I'm going to show you a trick for when you start your heel flap with a different color, and I'll show you when you should start and end that contrasting color. So I will meet you back here when my leg is completed. I'm ready to begin the heel flap for my sock, and I'm going to be using the contrasting color for that. I wanted to show you guys I'm keeping track of how much I use for the cuff heel and the toe so that I can see if I can get heels, toes, and cuffs on both socks out of one 20-gram mini. So the mini at the start was 20.7 grams. After the cuff, what is left is 18.7 grams. So I barely used any for this 10-round cuff of Knit 2 Purl 2 ribbing. And now we're ready to begin the heel. So I'm just keeping a little notebook here and weighing that as I go. What I've done so far is 60 rounds on the leg. I place a marker every 10 rounds. It just helps me keep track of how many rounds that I've done. It's easier than trying to go back and count them all or write them out and mark them off. And then I can make the second sock to match. So I did 59 rounds all the way around, and then on the 60th round, I've only knit across the front half of the sock so that I am set up and ready to begin the heel flap on the 60th round of the leg on the back of the sock. So we're going to grab our contrasting color and begin our heel flap. Now I will not be going into detailed instructions on how to do a heel flap and gusset. You can find that information over on the Magic Loop tutorial, and I will put a link for that down below, and the instructions are also in any of my patterns that are available on Etsy and Ravelry. There is something a little different that I do when I'm using a contrasting color. So this is where we're going to pick up, and I'm going to show you that. I like to do a slip stitch heel flap, and normally with that you pick right up with the slip one, knit one for the first row of your heel flap. But with doing a contrasting color, if you were to jump right into that, you're gonna be, these slipped stitches that you do are gonna be this main color, and it's gonna pull that main color up into your heel flap and not give you a clean contrasting look right there for the first row. So what I do for the first row is just take this contrasting color, put it on your needle for your first stitch, and knit all the way across the row. So you just jump right in with that main color, but instead of slip one, knit one, you're knitting all the way across. And this is going to give you a nice bold contrast between the two colors there. You're not going to be pulling any of the main color down into your heel flap. Now when we get to the second row of our heel flap, which will be our wrong side row, then we are going to just go right into what we should be doing on our heel flap. So we'll turn our work, slip the first stitch purlwise with the yarn in the front, and then purl across. So the only thing that you're changing about your heel flap is that first row. You're not doing a slip one, knit one. You are just knitting all the way across. And then from that point on for your heel flap and your heel turn, everything is the same. So I will meet you guys back here when you've completed your heel flap and your heel turn, and I will show you when you should start using your main color again. Before I turn you completely loose, I wanted to note that your main color here, you can go ahead and leave a tail there and cut that if you like. There is a way, and I'll explain that later on after we finish our heel turn and we start back with our main color, that you can not cut this main color and you can pick it back up. But in keeping with the instructions for the Vanilla Socks on Magic Loop that I have, I'm gonna go ahead and cut mine. It will give us, the couple extra tails there to weave in, but not a huge deal, I don't think. I never mind doing that. So like I said, I'll explain how you can keep this connected. You could keep it the whole time just hanging out there, and then you can pick back up if you really don't want any extra ends. I won't show you into detail that way to do it, but I will explain how you can do it. But I'm gonna go ahead and snip mine and then pick it back up after the heel turn. I've completed my heel flap and heel turn, and you can see here what I mean about not doing that slip one, knit one across that first row. Just gives us a nice contrasting look there to that. You're not pulling up any of this color up into your heel flap. So that is how I do the heel flap and heel turn. I just continue on with that contrasting color and finish the very last row of the heel turn, and then I switch it over. Now, I said there was a way that you could keep your main color connected and not have to cut it and have that extra end. If you were to do that at this point, I cut mine. If you had not, you could then start just picking up your gusset stitches along here, work across your heel turn. You're gonna pick up your gusset stitches with your main color along this side, work your heel turn, and then work back along this side, picking up your gusset stitches. And then that's gonna put you back at your beginning of round, and then you're gonna continue working around. Like I said, just cut mine. I don't think it's that big of a deal to have an extra end to weave in there. So now I'm going to cut my contrasting color, set it aside, and start back up with my main color. And I'm just going to go into the first stitch here. And knit across. And now I am back with my main color, and I'm ready to continue on through the gusset of the sock. And again, just a reminder that I will have the tutorials linked below if you need instructions on how to do certain portions of the sock. But I've just cut that contrasting color, started back with the main color, and now I will knit down through the gusset, the foot of the sock, and then I will meet you back here and show you how to start with the contrasting color for your toe. I've knit down the foot of my sock, and I'm now ready to change colors for my contrasting toe. Before we start that, I wanted to update you. I have been weighing the mini as I go. So after the heel was done, I still have 16 grams of this mini left. So we will see if I use the last bit of that. If I use about 5 grams, I think I'll be good to finish the second sock and do the heels, toes, and cuffs with this mini as well. So we will see how many grams I use for the toe. I will update you guys at the end of this tutorial. But now for switching colors for our toe, it's going to be done just the same way as we have been doing. I am ready to just go ahead and snip this yarn, leaving a tail so that I can weave it in. I go ahead and tuck that tail down to the inside of the sock. And now I'm ready to start knitting with the contrasting color for the toe. So we're going to do it the same as we have all the other times. We're going to have our tail down here, and we're just going to place this loop onto our needle and knit that first stitch. And then if you're doing the rounded toe from any of my patterns, I'm just going to jump in with my decreases. So you just jump right in with your toe pattern, and that is all there is to changing colors for the toe. So for mine, I'm just doing a decrease here for the second stitch, and then I'm knitting across. So I will go ahead and complete this toe with the contrasting color, and I will come back at the very end of the tutorial to update on how much I used for the toe so that we can see if I can get a full heel, toe, and cuff for a pair of socks out of a 20-gram mini. I've completed the toe on my sock. So you can see here, let me flip to the other side. I've got all of my markers on this side. Let's flip it over here. You can see we did our cuff, slip stitch, heel flap, and heel turn, and our toe with our contrasting 20 gram mini. So I did weigh the mini to see how much I used for the toe. So if we take a look here, I still have 13.7 grams left of this mini. So I did not use half of it. So I'm comfortable going on to the second sock to do just how I did with this. Now I typically will do a longer cuff, 20 rows. I only did 10 for this. It fits just fine. I like the look of the smaller cuff as well. I would not do my 20 row cuff. I don't think that I would have enough if I did a 20 row cuff. I think I would be cutting it a little too close for comfort. So 64 stitch sock, 10 rows of knit 2 purl 2 ribbing for the cuff, and I'm comfortable enough going on to do the second sock. If you have a scale, it's just an easy way that you can weigh your mini as you go to see if you're gonna have enough. Just to give you an idea before you start that second sock if you're gonna be able to complete it. This is actually the first time I've ever weighed my yarn as I've went with these. Typically I will only do 2. I'll either do like cuff and heel or heel and toe. I've never done all 3. I think it's fun to know that I now can do all 3 if I do a 10 row cuff. So I'll definitely be doing that more so that I can take advantage of having contrasting for all 3. I hope that this tutorial was helpful for how to change your colors to do these contrasting sections on a sock, and helpful for also how you can weigh as you go to see if you'll have enough to do both socks. Thank you guys so much for watching.